What's up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Variant the Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Arris Quinones, with Tim Connolly, as always. What's up, Tim?
Greetings, Variant Nation and Arris Quinones, my good pal. How are you on this fine, weathery, wintry afternoon?
I was just complaining how gloomy it was.
It's actually over here, I would say, because Arris and I, for those of you that don't know, we're recording in two different places.
Yes.
So where I am, it's actually finally starting to clear up. But for most of the day, yes, it has been very gloomy.
Very, very gloomy. But hey, no rain yet, so that's good. I hope it doesn't rain tomorrow, though, so... You know, because it sucks because like I'm in the house like most of the time anyway, and then on the weekend when it rains, it's like, so I got to stay in the house even on the weekend. Fine, great, awesome.
Well, for me, as long as it's it's a good weather for Super Bowl Sunday, I'm solid. You know what I mean? Just tomorrow,
oh my gosh,
do what you got to do. Just get it all out for Super Bowl
That
Sunday.
is right. Super Bowl. Super Bowl.
Right, man.
The Super Bowl is this Sunday. Wow, that's great.
Yes, indeed.
You know, I'm not that big of a sports fan. Like, I follow baseball a little bit, but that's pretty much it. And it's weird, like, because my dad was a huge sports guy. So like if I had to pick a team, like I'm a Giants guy, I have a Giants hat and stuff like that. I love the Yankees, and then obviously like the Knicks for basketball. But with that said, I don't know stats. I don't even know like who the current quarterback for freaking the Giants are. Right? I don't know if it, So it's one of those things where like, yeah, I like this team, but I ain't, I'm not the guy who's going to throw the big Super Bowl party. Let's just say that.
Oh yeah, I am the 180 degree opposite, as you know. I am a big sports fan, have always been a sports fan my entire life, particularly football, but I'm also a big basketball fan, football fan, dabble in a little bit of hockey, a little bit of tennis, when you're really bored, tennis or golf. I would say more golf. But yeah, no, I am super stoked. Super Bowl Sunday is one of my favorite events of every single year, and this year is a good one between Tampa Bay and Kansas City. We've got the GOAT himself, Tom Brady, going back to the Super Bowl
again
with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in his first year with the team after leaving New England, going up against the beast, the man-child himself, Patrick Mahomes for Kansas City. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I will have chicken wings in hand, and I will be ready to enjoy every minute of it. So as long as weather is good and clear for that down in Tampa Bay, which is pretty wild because Tampa Bay is actually getting to play in their own home stadium. Mm-hmm. It's the first time, I think, in modern Super Bowl history.
Yeah, that's a home field advantage that's doesn't seem fair.
Right?
It doesn't seem fair at all.
Can you imagine if you were a Tampa Bay fan, how stoked you must be?
Dude.
Outside of the fact, I don't know what the attendance
regulations is for what
the attendance they're doing. I haven't looked into that. I don't know what the attendance rules are doing for the Super Bowl. I know that there's going to be people in the stands. I just don't know what the percentage is going to be. Either way, whoever's going to be there is going to be stoked out of their mind.
It's just going to be all the celebrities. They're like, yeah, we finally got the arena to ourselves.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
We don't have to share it with the peasants.
And the rich people. All the rest of us will be watching it on television.
Well, speaking of watching that on television, WandaVision episodes 3 and 4.
Yeah, man.
So, I am a fan. I am quite a fan of this series. I think I said it last time we talked about it, that I'm digging the slow burn. The first 2 episodes, when the premiere happened, we got 2 episodes in one night, and it was very much like, we didn't know anything. It was straightforward, just like Wanda and Vision in like 50s TV shows, like, Bewitched, I Love Lucy, Dick Van Dyke style TV shows, with like just probably a minute or so in each episode pulling out of that, like, hinting to like something greater going on, and how they're trapped in here. But 3 kind of more or less was the same, right? Episode 3 was kind of more the same. A lot more hints. There was a lot more hints in there for sure, especially.
Well, a few, for sure.
Especially, again, there's going to be spoilers for WandaVision too. I always forget to lead off with that. But if you haven't, if you're not current.
You should probably kick off with that one.
Yeah, if you're not current with the first 4 episodes of WandaVision, spoilers galore.
Yeah, we're about to talk freely about this. So if you haven't seen the last 2 episodes, beware.
Yes. So, and then at the end of episode 3, that I know we already talked about this off mic, but you told me that episode 3 I think was your least favorite of the 4 thus far.
I don't know if I would say least favorite.
Oh, no?
It's just that, yeah. I mean, because, like we talked about last time, I really wanted them to dive in more into what is broadly going on here. And they went really hard with, keeping the joke going. And so it started to lose me, but I'll let you give your thoughts and then I'll give my full thoughts on it.
So I liked episodes, I've liked every episode in the series thus far. Obviously, at the time of recording this podcast, episode 4 is the latest episode, and that is my favorite thus far. But with that said, episode 3, see, for me, I love slow burns. Like, it's weird, right? Because like with comics, especially like what was it, the new Peter David Maestro series, like issue 1, that series was very much a slow burn. Like it took like for 2 issues for it to really, it's a slow burn it was a 5-issue miniseries, right? So for what it was slow. When when you don't have 10 issues, you kind of have to jump in right away, So as if to not like lose the audience right away. But anyway, for me, the first issue, I've said it several times, was just like, it was, I'm intrigued. It was all right. And it was kind of like, this was kind of like the flip of that, where this episode was very much a slow burn, or the series rather, but I liked how weird it was because it did seem detached in something like they couldn't do with the actual like blockbuster movies for the MCU, right? Like when watching that show, you're like, oh, I see why Kevin Feige has said several times that the Disney Plus platform is going to allow them to explore these characters in ways they would never be able to on the big screen. So it was a little jarring when we talked about the first 2 episodes. The first time on the podcast, we both did agree that it was, for me, it was at first, it was like, okay, but like getting in the episode, I'm like, oh, I see what they're doing here. Like they're really bunkering down to like, no, this is just Vision and Wanda inside of like, a sitcom of that era, right? So I dug that. But then issue 3, before I said issue 3, episode 3, comic books always on the mind. But before I talk about issue, I said it again, issue 3. I love comic book guys. I really, really love comic books.
Yeah.
That's
he
definitely
even sees comic books on the screen.
Yeah, it's definitely apparent. Before I start elaborating on episode 3, the first 2 episodes, they kind of had like those Jaws moments though, right? Where in the first episode at the dinner table where Vision is eating with his boss, he's having to entertain his boss and her wife at the dinner table, like he starts choking and it kind of pulls out of that reality for a world, and you see something greater is going on, and you hear like voices like, WandaVision, you need help, blah, blah, and you kind of like hear all that stuff, and it made it really, really intense because the whole episode was played so straight to just be a sitcom that when that one like minute scene happened, you're like, oh, that felt more jarring than it probably should have, because I was in like this little happy-go-lucky like goober world, you know what I mean? Like, gee golly whiz.
Yeah.
And then something like that happened in the second episode. But then in the third episode, like around 3 things like that happened, right? Vision is in his front yard. He sees 2 of the characters in that, their names are escaping me right now, but 2 of the characters in that world like kind of breaking through a concrete like fence or barrier with a freaking weed whacker or some sort of like lawn trimmer, and he's like, well, that's curious, and he goes over, he starts talking to his neighbor and another neighbor that's there with him, and they're like, hey, should we tell him like what's going on? Like he can't know, right? And you see them break out of that for a second. There's even a second in that episode where like Vision rewinds himself, or Wanda rewinds him, right? Like you see the scene play out, and then it rewinds, and it does it again a different way. And then at the end of the episode, Miss Rambo tells Scarlet Witch that she knows about Ultron, and she knows about Pedro, and that he died. And that freaking makes Scarlet Witch like, that's the biggest breakout of the episode, where she's like, what? How do you know that name? How do you know about my brother? And that, not good things happen. Then we get to episode 4, my favorite episode. I'm pretty sure this has got to be most people's favorite episode up until this point, because they did something I thought was genius, where we didn't get much of anything for the first 3 episodes at all, right? These real little teases where, a lot of people were even like, come on already, let's give us something, right? There's only 9 episodes for this first season. Or this limited series. It's escaping me what it is. Do you know if it's a season or is it a limited series? Do you remember?
It's a miniseries.
It is a miniseries. Okay, so
yeah, 9 episodes miniseries.
Okay, so for this miniseries, but episode 4, like, dude, it starts off with freaking people disappearing. Like when the snap happened, which immediately I'm like, oh, this is gonna be good.
Right.
We see Rambo in the hospital. You know, she was originally there with her mother who was ill, but by the time you know everyone starts reappearing, like again, you know, people who got snapped.
So it's not when the snap happened. It's 5 years later after everybody was snapped back. So it's after the Hulk had snapped everybody back into existence prior to them going to battle with Thanos.
Yes, that's what I meant. I meant the secondary snap, not the first snap. Sorry for the confusion. So when everything was corrected and people started reappearing, the 5 years later, you know, the blip as they call it in the MCU, Miss Rambo is confused. Like last she was there, you know, her mom was still alive and everything like that. She finds a doctor who explains explains what's going on, and she's like, "What?" And it's just chaos, right? Because it was so well done. Because it's like if something like that really happened, especially being in a place like a hospital, that would be one of the most chaotic things in the world. Like a hospital's got to be up there with top 3 most chaotic, you know, places to be,
without question,
especially in like an ICU, right? Because you're talking about people are like that you thought were alive are now dead, or you know, you just utter like you know pandemonium, right?
Just total chaos and confusion.
So it was a
and I loved how they showed people coming back. By the way, I think that's the first time we saw people coming back like that.
No, we saw it briefly in Far From Home at the beginning when in the school. Remember, they were showing little recordings of it in the gymnasium on the basketball court and stuff.
Oh, that's right. You're right. You're right. I forgot about that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So
it was cool nonetheless.
Well, for sure, it was this was definitely a better look at it. For sure, this was a more chaotic look at it, if anything. But that whole first 5 minutes of the episode that just set the tone because it didn't really let up from there. So episode 4 basically serves as telling us everything telling us and explaining everything that happened in the first 3 episodes. Because like in the first 3 episodes, you see little breakouts, right? And you even hear at certain points in those episodes, like someone going, "Wanda, can you hear me? Are you there?" And episode 4 explains how that happened. We know that Sword send in drones into this force field that they found in this town that's supposedly Westview that doesn't really exist. It's something, you know, created by Wanda. And it turns into a helicopter when it goes inside of this reality or this portal. And in Wanda's world, it looks like a toy helicopter, but in reality, it was a drone. It's like transformed because she's, you know, big spoiler. At the end of the episode, we find out it's Wanda doing everything. Surprise! Like, right? But yeah, just the way they unwinded everything. They brought back several characters from the MCU. Like Jimmy Woo. Oh, I love his character so much. Like Jimmy Woo character in the MCU is the best. He is so funny. Like
he's hilarious.
When I saw him, like someone said that they need to make a Disney Plus series where Jimmy, it's like X-Files style, where he just goes investigates like phenomenons that goes on, like in the MCU.
That's a good idea. Actually,
like how funny would that be? Seeing him like try to like figure out all this weird stuff that happens because of aliens and superheroes. But yeah, I'll skip to the end because a lot happens, and I'm sure we'll keep going back and forth once you give your thoughts here. But at the end of the episode, my favorite beat is like the revelation of what really happened. Again, Wanda is doing all this; she's creating this reality. But not only that, my favorite thing in the whole episode is we find out that she's essentially using her powers to like be the puppet master for the corpse of Vision.
Crazy.
Like full on, we get an extended scene from episode 3 where Scarlet Witch or Wanda has that confrontation with Rambo. Right. We see like how that played out, how basically after she's like, "How do you know who Ultron is? How do you know who my brother is? How do you know he died?" Wanda gets extremely pissed, realizing, "Oh, you're an outsider. You're not supposed to be in my reality." So she freaking uses her like psionic blast to blast her out of the world and shoot her out of the dome, which is why at the end of episode 3 we see Monica Rambeau fly out of the dome. So that we got the bigger picture of that, how it all actually went down and happened. But dude, seeing when Wanda turns to Vision, he's asking like what's going on. Essentially, you see him come around all normal, but then they let us get a look at him how she sees him, like the real way. And he's just like, he's a zombie Vision, right? He's got his freaking half of his head missing because the Infinity Stone got torn out by Thanos.
Right.
And he's got like no eyes. He's all black and gray. It was freaking creepy. Like I was like, oh, like I was startled for a second because they did it so well. Like they only show it for a few frames. It's only on screen for like, about like 2-3 seconds, if that, just enough to be like, oh, she's freaking using his, dragging his freaking robot corpse around and making it whole in her eyes.
Right.
It's just so good. And then it ends with her basically telling me everything's going to be okay. You're with me now. We're in reality. So it just revealed that she's doing it. It's her doing it. It's Wanda freaking wrecking shop, just like she did in the comics, which was my favorite part. It reminds me of an episode we just covered with Wanda, where we talked about her most powerful moments. How in Avengers Disassemble, I believe, she basically creates her own reality again in that comic, and she has twins in that reality. Like, everyone's alive, everything's all good, but Professor X is in there telling her, look, you need to knock it off. This is not good. You're killing people. This is not real. Knock it off, Wanda. And that's basically, I had to imagine they stole that from that comic book and are doing their own version of it. So I know there's lots of X-Men hype. They already announced the Fantastic Four. Can you imagine episode 9 of this series? It's freaking Professor X making her stop it and knock it off, like in the comics, and that's how they introduced the X-Men into the MCU.
Right.
Like, dude,
right.
that would literally be, Marvel's equivalent of the Luke Skywalker reveal at the end of Mandalorian season 2. That would be insane.
Yeah, no kidding.
All this to say, I'm loving the series, Tim, and everyone listening.
I'm with you, man. I should say I'm more with you now.
Okay.
Than I was last time. So, we talked about it last time, as we already said. The first 2 episodes, I liked them, but I was already feeling like, okay, let's get to telling more, giving us more about what this is, what's really going on here, right? At least a little bit more. Show us a little bit more. Episode 3, it was the first like three quarters of the episode was rough for me, because I just felt like they kept the joke going for too long. It was even more over the top, hokey, and like kind of cheesy. And I get that's intentional, but for my taste, it was a little bit rough to get through.
Yeah.
With her, like the whole crossing her eyes while she's giving birth, and the laugh track, and that constantly keeps going off. And I was just like, oh man, if they end this episode and it's just like the other 2 and we still don't know Jack, I was going to be annoyed. But thankfully, we did by the end of the episode. We got like the last 5 minutes. It was where it gets into that scene that you mentioned with Monica Rambeau, where she starts to remember because she's caught, as we learned, in greater detail in episode 4, she's caught in the delusion now herself. And we actually, in episode 4, we learn how she ended up there, how she got caught in the delusion herself, and how powerful Scarlet Witch's, Wanda's delusion that she's created here actually is, to where it's transforming not just a whole town, but all of these actual real-time people. Because in episode 4, they actually go through and name a lot of the people that are in the town and who they really are, right?
Yeah.
Who they are in the series, the sitcom, as they're calling it, that Wanda is kind of producing. And they name who they really are in real life, and what they're and they're trying to piece together, like, what are they doing there? How did they get there? That sort of a thing. So she's literally holding some people captive. And one of the things I did notice is they did not tell us when they were kind of saying like, oh, this person's this person. And then, is they never got to Agnes. They never mentioned Agnes, who she is, where she came from. So we're still yet to find that out. But to my previous point, just as far as at the end of that episode 3 there, that last 5 minutes as Monica Rambeau starts to kind of, where she sees the twins, Wanda with the twins, and she mentions their names, and she mentions Vision and everything, and she starts to remember, right? She starts to remember her brother because she mentions him, and she says, oh, you had a brother. Your brother died. Ultron killed him, right? And she starts to remember everything, and that sets Wanda off because, as we saw in the previous episode 2, where the scene that you mentioned, where she goes outside, she finds that in color helicopter, and she's just looking at it, kind of confused. And then the beekeeper comes out of the sewer, who has the sword symbol on him. And she says no. Her whole demeanor changes. She says no, and everything rewinds and resets, right? So now we're getting to the end of this, episode 3, and we see Wanda, as Monica Rambeau mentions Ultron and her brother and things like that, and that he was killed. She again, her demeanor shifts, and we see her go, like who are you, sort of a thing. She sees the sword symbol around her necklace, or on her necklace around her neck, and she's like, who are you? And so there's like a really intense 5 minutes at the end of that episode, and then Vision comes in, and just like you said, he comes in, he's like, well, did we see that at the beginning of, I'm confused now. Was that at the beginning of episode 4 that we saw Vision dead, or was it at the end of episode 3 where we saw him walk in and they showed him as a corpse?
They showed him as a corpse at the end of episode 4. It's literally like the last 2 or 3 minutes.
Oh, it was the end of okay. So yeah, right. So it was when they showed her throw Monica through the wall basically and out of the town.
Yes. Yeah. That's
okay.
it. Yeah.
So now, now I'm remembering. I'm sorry. It kind of gets a little conflated because it all, the episode 4 directly ties into, not just episode 3, but everything, but largely it explains what we see in episode 3. So, we get all of these instances, this really intense moment at the end of episode 3 that really had you like, okay, well, that made up for everything else kind of toward the end, because they were starting to lose me, but it made up for it. But then episode 4, I wasn't sure after what I saw in episode 3. Is like, are we going to get more in episode 4? I assumed we were because of the way it ended.
Right.
But man, episode 4 was killer good.
By far the best episode of the season thus far.
Hands down. Yeah. I mean, and the way that they explained it, they introduced Kat back in there from Thor. We got, as you said, we got the other character from Ant-Man. And they were they added a level of fun, but they did such a cool job of recapping everything, episodes 1 through 3, and integrating it into this broader narrative of what's happening, showing us that it is, in fact, Wanda that is creating the delusion. Although we don't know if it's Wanda doing this at her own behest, or if if she's doing this under the manipulation of some greater force. Because as I said, they still haven't told us who Agnes is. And, like all fans now are speculating, it's Agatha Harkness. And if that's the case, is Mephisto involved somehow? So still waiting to find that out as we get deeper into the, why is Wanda doing this? But at least now we know for sure it is, in fact, Wanda that is creating this entire scenario. I really loved that scene, how they showed, where the beekeeper came from, how it was a sword agent in a hazmat suit.
Yeah, and when he popped out, he was in a beekeeper suit.
Yeah, crawling through the sewers, and he was attached to a rope. And when it's, for those of you who've seen it, or haven't seen it, I should say, when they cross the barrier that Wanda has created, it literally turns everything to whatever retro era she's in at that moment. So, in that particular instance, they were still in, the 1950s, and he came out as that beekeeper. And they're as they're watching, because they're literally able to, they figure out how to, basically tune in to her sitcom, because they pick up a radio signal, or the frequency rather, inside the radiation noise there, the background radiation. And they literally bring in an old television, and it tunes in like a regular TV show. So they see Wanda pick up that helicopter, which at the beginning of episode 4, you see, what's the character's name? I'm sorry, you said it already.
Jimmy Woo.
Jimmy Woo. They show Jimmy Woo flying a drone into the town, and it disappears, but it was a drone, and Wanda's powerful delusion transforms it into that vintage helicopter that we see her pick up. And it shows them in the sitcom while they're watching it. They show her pick up the colorful thing, and they say, how did you turn it color? And she says, I didn't. So it shows, I just loved every aspect of how they broke it down, how they told us all the little details, introduced a couple of characters from inside the existing MCU, and then set it up for even episode 5, which comes out today, actually. I'm excited to watch it because now we're getting, it was like at the end of episode 4, I was like,
oh my God, today is Friday. Wow. Yeah. I completely forgot.
So we got episode 5 today. And so, like, for me, at the end, I felt like Nacho Libre is getting down to the nitty gritty. It was like, I was really stoked. But by far, that episode 4 was the best episode. But also, I'm just excited, not just that we're getting more about where this is all going and why it's happening, but also the direction that they've chose. It's just really, really fun. And all of my concerns have been quelched, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see, where it goes from here. And like, they did leave it open to where, like, is it Wanda doing it on her own accord, or is she being manipulated? Like, we don't really know yet as of now, because that was all just revealed, in the last like 3 or 4 minutes of episode 4. So, people definitely already know. I mean, the episode's out, went up this morning, I guess. So the information is out there where we don't know currently yet, though.
Yeah, and I'm not looking at anything because I don't want any spoilers.
Dude, Friday.
I did already see that it's 80s. So I'm like, which, that's not really a surprise.
I'm looking at it on the app right now. It's a 41-minute long episode.
Is it really?
41 minutes. So that probably means realistically,
that's dope.
It's probably like 35 minutes of actual content because their credits are super long.
Good
Have you noticed that their credits are like 4 or 5 minutes?
Yeah.
But still, that's a lot. We've been getting like 28, minute long episodes. So I'll take an extra like 7 minutes.
Absolutely, man. That's exciting. I'm hoping that means that they're going to elaborate further on, why is Wanda doing what she's doing? Why are we here, sort of a thing.
I think we're going to get the flip this week, because last week we were almost completely on the outside of her illusion or reality, right? I think this week it's going to deal with revelations, but from Wanda's side, inside the sitcom world. You know what I mean? Or that's my hope, at least.
I wonder if we'll get a mix.
Maybe.
Because they did like 3 extreme episodes, or like 2 extreme episodes where the whole thing was basically the delusion. Then you had one episode where most of it was the delusion, and at the end of the episode, you got
the breakout.
It kind of broke free of that, and it went out more serious. And then we had one full episode where it was purely outside of the delusion. So I'm wondering if maybe this one will be like a mix where it's halvesies, where she's starting to not snap out of it, but she, we clearly know from the trailer that at some point she starts to deal with whatever it is that's happening. She has Vision kind of operating alongside her. I'm really curious as to what they're going to do with Vision, man. I know you are too.
I wonder if they're going to bring him back.
Where are they going to go with Vision? Yeah. Are they going to bring him back? I just don't think, I would love for them to. I just don't think it's going to happen.
No.
I don't know. You never know with these guys, but I just don't think it's going to happen. I think by the end, she's going to come to grips, and, she's basically going to accept that he's not there and have to learn to move on. It's going to be that sort of a thing. That's my guess, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah, I think the person who we're going to see get brought back is Quicksilver. I feel like he's going to be resurrected somehow.
I agree with you. I think that there's a very good chance of that.
Yeah.
And that would be a great add back to the MCU.
Yeah, he's a massive character. You know what I mean?
Yep.
To the Marvel Universe. He was literally only in one movie. They killed him in the only movie he was in. They killed him off by the end of the movie, Age of Ultron. So, and the fact that he was already brought up by Monica Rambeau and stuff like that. I'm like, I don't know. It just makes so much sense. And then if they are going to bring, actually, the more I think about it, okay, so like if they are really pulling from the comic books, that's what's going to happen, because again, in the comics, Wanda brought Quicksilver back to life. So, there's a lot of, we know for a fact that the MCU, Kevin Feige, and, everyone creatively over at Marvel Studios likes to pull inspiration from the comic books. They don't adapt it, identical, like, Civil War, Captain America Civil War.
Right.
It was basically the same theme, but it didn't play out nothing like it did in the comic books, right? But they like to, loosely adapt it. So I feel like with the kind of like Avengers Disassemble references and all that stuff, and then like House of M, with bringing her, bringing her brother back to life and stuff like that, Quicksilver, that's definitely a way they can go. So That's my
Right.
hope. And as a comic book fan, that would make me happy. Be like, yes.
I do think it's interesting, regardless of which way they go with, whether they bring these characters back or not. I find it really fascinating how they're juggling a lot of actual comic book stories around Wanda, and kind of pulling just various pieces from a few of them. Because again, this is either going to go one of two ways. This is either going to be, I'm specifically talking about one comic story in particular where Wanda creates, this world, as you already referenced it.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be very curious to see, is this going to go the full route of following that storyline, and we're going to get introduced to, Charles Xavier, possibly even Eric, Magneto. Or, are they going to just, continue to, pull from multiple, Scarlet Witch stories and kind of do a hodgepodge mixed with their own ideas in there? I'm really super curious to see how this continues to roll out, because the direction that they've chosen to go with it definitely kicks the door wide open for them to use this, and maybe even the Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness to introduce some X-Men,
Yep, well, like we've been saying these last few weeks, we'll see.
We'll see. That's I'm telling you, it's our theme for 2021.
We will see. But let's move to some actual comic books. One of my favorite comic books of last year, for sure, DCeased, Dead Planet.
Oh, yeah.
So good. So that just wrapped up.
One of the better things that DC had been putting out all of 2020 and earlier, even earlier than that.
Yes. More Tom Taylor greatness. The DCeased universe is, his baby pretty much. And every title, I think at this point there's 7 DCeased themed series, and every single one of them are freaking flawless, and they all intertwine. They explain things that happened, in this one and then that one. So good. And Dead Planet just wrapped up somewhat recently here, a few weeks ago now, with issue 7. And boy, oh boy, was it an ending, man. Because we covered the entirety of the series on the main variant channel, issue by issue. And man, in issue 6, again, we're going to talk spoilers for this series because, so much awesome in it. By the end of issue 6, Constantine becomes Dr. Fate, right? But not only Dr. Fate, he gets Madame Xanadu's crystal ball, he gets Ragman's cloak, he gets the powers of Shazam, the powers of a dead man. It's ridiculous. He's the most OP mystic ever created for comic books, because he has, it's oh, what mystical powers do you want? All of them. Someone just they asked Constantine this, and he's oh, you want this one, this one? He's just yes. So it leads it. And what's crazy is, the Dead Planet series specifically wasn't really a Constantine story from the jump. It was around issue, if memory serves me correctly, this may not be exact, but it was around issue 3 or 4-ish where it really started to shift to become a Constantine story. You know what I mean? Where he's in it every issue. Every other page he's doing something. And it kind of pulled a Justice League Dark Apocalypse War on us, where that movie became very Constantine focused. And by the end of it, he's the one who resolved everything, right? Or resolved it as best as he could, because that movie ends on a downer. But
yeah. And you're absolutely right. It was largely reminiscent of the Apocalypse War.
Yeah. So I've said it before. I was never the biggest Constantine fan. I didn't not like him at all. He was just not one of my favorite characters. There's lots of characters that they're yeah, that's a character. Doesn't mean I don't like you. It's just you're not my favorite. So I was kind of like that with Constantine, but over the last 2 years, between animation and all of his recent comics, especially in the DCeased universe, I'm dang, I'm becoming a pretty big Constantine fan. You know what I mean? So I just
but rightfully so. The way they've been handling the character, particularly Tom Taylor, has been amazingly good.
Yeah, really, really, really good. And the thing with this series that I think with the DCeased universe in general that he does so well is misdirect, right? Because I've said it often covering the main DCeased title, DCeased Dead Planet, DCeased Unkillables, all the DCeased issues, he's able, it's become The Walking Dead in the sense or Game of Thrones in the sense people are going to die. It's a matter of time before a major character dies. but somehow he paces it and does it in a way where I'm still surprised. Like, knowing someone's probably going to die, because that's just what this universe is. It's literally called DCeased, much like, again, like Game of Thrones, where a major characters are going to die and it's only a matter of time. I'm still shocked. Like, when they killed Red Hood, I was like, oh man, like, the way he does it, again, at least me personally, I did not see it coming. But he also does that with twists. One of my favorite things with the DCeased Dead Planet finale I like so much is he set up little things. Like, I believe it was in issue 1 of this miniseries, or issue 2, where Kilowog shows Jonathan Kent, who's now Superman, he took over the mantle for his father, he shows him his infected father, Clark Kent, in the sun eating it. Because remember, from the original DCeased series, that's what happens. Superman gets basically trapped in there, and he's basically eating the sun to become super, super crazy, like Superman 1 million powered, right? And he's like, yeah, your father's still eating the star, and he's waiting to get strong enough to kill all of you. And then they never touch on it again. Like, they tell us that. We never hear of Clark Kent for the rest of the series, even at the ending. And then we also, throughout the series, Darkseid, right? We find out he breaks free from the core of Apocalypse, now an undead Darkseid, a deceasified Darkseid, if you will, a zombie Darkseid, and he ends up attacking New Genesis, and we see it briefly. It was a cliffhanger at the end of issue 5. I don't know, they're all bleeding together. At one of the issues, it was a cliffhanger towards the end, and never touched on again. Like, literally, the climax of the series is Constantine and OP Constantine versus Trigon. That's the climax, which is an epic, done awesome, loved it. But I thought the misdirect there was it was going to end with Darkseid. Like, for sure, they was going to fight Darkseid. You got an undead Darkseid, New God, that for sure has to be the climax. Nope. So what is so cool is the series still ended really, really, really well. On a, I was very satisfied. But now he set all these pieces up for future series, for the DCeased universe to continue, because now we know it's only a matter of time before Jonathan Kent is going to have to come face to face with his father, right? Because at the end of DCeased Dead Planet, another major thing is that the heroes found a cure. So now there's a cure on Earth. So now from here on out, any DCeased title that takes place post this timeline, the world is cured now, right? So, but there's a problem, because infected Superman and Darkseid, two of the most powerful beings in the DC universe, are still infected. So if you don't think they're going to come to Earth to try to wreak havoc and make the virus start all over again, you're crazy. So meaning we're going to see a confrontation with freaking Jonathan Kent taking on his father, which, by the way, there's a moment in this issue 7 of DCeased Dead Planet where Jonathan Kent goes after Trigon, and he knows he's pretty much, because in this series, Constantine has Madame Xanadu's crystal ball, so he knows everyone's gonna die. He tells this to Superman. He's like, "I see in the future."
Constantine has everybody's everything in this.
He tells this to Jonathan Kent. He's like, because he asked him, "Can I help you?" He's like, "No, I've seen the future, and you don't make it." So flash forward, after Constantine, quote unquote, loses his first round with Trigon, Superman's like, well, I guess it's my time, knowing full on that in the future he doesn't make it, but still goes toe to toe with freaking Trigon. The comic even says Superman does what no one can do. He even passes the divide, like punching him, slamming a demon to the ground. Right. And it's just one of those moments that shows why I love Superman so much. That as in the face of death, knowing this isn't going to end, I know I'm going to die, and I know it might be pointless, but it doesn't matter, because even if it's going to be pointless, I still have to do what's right for the sheer possibility, or even just because it's right. It doesn't matter whether I'm going to live or die. It's just the right thing to do. So I love how they push that. They push that on Jonathan Kent, because this isn't even in Clark Kent Superman. So for them to pass that, that demeanor and that essence of Superman to the sun I thought was such a great passing of the torch. That's the kind of stuff that I like. I don't want to get into the weeds, but when I say having another character take on a mantle of a already established character, like a Batman, a Wonder Woman, a Green Lantern, and so on and so forth, this was one that was done perfectly. Obviously, this isn't the main DC continuity, but nonetheless, the way Tom Taylor did it perfectly, it made all the sense in the world. All of us fans were already attached to Jonathan Kent. We all loved him as a character. They've been building it since Super Sons. That whole book is basically about Damian Wayne and Jonathan Kent wanting to be better and one day take up their father's mantle. So it just makes all the sense in the world. It was just done perfectly. Anyway, to end my long rant, it ended with the the Cure, and we still have undead Darkseid out there. We have Jonathan Kent probably going to face his father because Superman is still out there, and the possibilities are endless. I love this series. Definitely top 5 series of 2020 for sure.
I would agree, especially on the DC side. It was, I'm not going to have nearly as much to say. I don't even know how I'd follow all that up. But
I really like the book.
Yeah, it would. The entire DCeased series, as you've already said and elaborated on very eloquently, Arris, it was just super, super fun from start to finish. All the different variations of he did, whether we're talking about the original D series. Or DCeased series, or Dead Planet, or what was the other one?
Unkillables.
Unkillables. There was one other one at World's End.
At World's End, yeah, it's another one. Yeah, there's a bunch. Yeah, there's 6 or 7.
Yeah, there was a whole slew of them. Is the point? But yeah, if anybody's judging me right now for not remembering these names, you try and keep up with all of this crap. But yeah, the entire series, I would say, has just been really fun from start to finish for all the reasons that you already mentioned. But the finale of Dead Planet was just so good. And I just want to reiterate the part that you said. Well, both of the two key things that you mentioned is John Constantine's character, how his character evolved over the course of that book was so good. He was written so well. It was funny, but it was also heartwarming, and at the end, really deep and meaningful in the way that he sacrificed. Even when he looked at even just that simple line where Superman basically says to him, like, "Hey, you're a good man, John Constantine," and he says, "I'm not, but I'll be honest with you. That's nice to hear coming from Superman."
So right? Good, yeah.
Even just that moment, like it's meant to be kind of like just a heartwarming moment, but it also spoke a lot to John Constantine's character, right? Of who he really is, how he really is as a person, where he's like he's this rough, rugged guy who does crazy crap, and he's funny and he just gets on people's nerves. But at the same time, there's that part of him that he hides, that in the end leads him to make the ultimate sacrifice and literally give his own life and be okay with it for the sake of others. And that whole story arc with Constantine was just so good. And then again, also like you mentioned, Superman. I love what they did with John Kent in this series. Yep. I just love it. Damian Wayne was good too, and their relationship was really fun throughout. I would say a lot of the relationships throughout this series, a lot of the little breakout relationships.
Yeah, all the pairings he did was great.
Yeah, really, really good. But I really, again, I'm kind of a sucker for the Captain America, Superman, just their stories, the Boy Scout. I'm kind of a sucker for that. But I just love what they did with John Kent, and again there at the end where John Constantine's dead. And, John Kent just comes in and just says, I'm telling you to stop. Whether you whether you call me a speck or not, I'm going to hit you with everything I've got, and I'm going to keep going until I can't anymore.
Yeah, he literally says this speck told you to stop.
Yeah, just so good. I just overall, I just thought it was so well done, and it was how it was just how I feel about DC right now. I'm a little bit exhausted by all the madness that's been going on with DC, right? So the DCeased series was one of the breakout titles that it was like a nice break from all of the constant asking of like, okay, what's going on? Where are they going with this? What is this going to mean?
Because it's its own thing. It's its own universe.
Yeah, it was totally off on its own. And it was its own self-contained story, and it just allowed you to go and enjoy it for what it was, and without any other ramifications. And of course, Tom Taylor being a brilliant writer, it was just great from start to finish, and he nailed the ending. I mean, you can't really say it's the ending because, as you said, they're lined up for more, but for that particular book, it was fantastic.
He's so great. And, going off that point of the Constantine's whole arc, which was phenomenal, and how, again, it kind of snuck up on us. Zatanna even says at the end, like, Constantine was never that guy. Like, he's never the guy to like lay his life on the line first and sacrifice, his life to do the right thing. But he was the guy that like he would find any other thing or person he could first before that, right? But at the end, we realized like at the core of it, he is that guy. He's a con artist, but deep down he is that guy. And when the cards really hit the table and really mattered and there was no other option, he's like, well, now's my time to step up. And it was just really cool to see, right? Because, we know him as a con artist who like tricks people and all that stuff like that. But like you kind of reiterate what you just said, when it really, really mattered and there was no other option, no way he could weasel his way out of it, he sacrificed himself, which was dope. So good.
Yeah. And I just loved how that spoke so much to Constantine as a character, right? Because again, he is this kind of, at times he's kind of almost an anti-hero.
Oh yeah.
Right. But he's this rude, crass, jokester who's just constantly, just pissing people off left and right, right? Just making friends all over the world, that guy. But I loved the depth that they gave him. That Tom Taylor gave him in this series. It was just really, really well done. And again, that kind of lines up to what we were talking about. It had that same tip of the hat almost, or that nod to Constantine that we saw in the Apocalypse War story.
For sure. Definitely it's a good 2 years or so to be a Constantine fan, that's for sure.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah,
because he even I believe he even got an animated movie in 2020, which I haven't watched, but I think it's on HBO Max now, so I'm gonna have to check that out. But staying in the DC universe, Tim, I know a topic you're definitely not tired of talking about. Definitely not definitely not tired of talking about at all. The Snyder Cut.
Oh, might we be talking about the Snyder Cut?
The Snyder Cut. But we got a massive announcement that because Zack Snyder has been freaking teasing us left and right. He's still freaking teasing us even after the big announcement from a little while ago. But we have an official date. Yeah. We have an official date of when we could all feast our eyes on the 4 hours of Zack Snyder's Justice League on HBO Max, which is going to be March 18th, 2021. So this year.
That's right.
So now,
and we got a couple of new posters, which are pretty cool. One in particular that was a direct nod to the death of Superman, which that one I thought was really cool. Yeah,
two of them. That one is my favorite for sure. The Broken Justice League symbol, I like that one. I think that was cool. The one that I thought was just kind of funny. I felt like he had to, is the director reel, right? Like the film reel with his name on it, it says Snyder Cut. It's like, well, I mean, this has been a thing for so long. Okay, fine. Like, obviously, that had to be one of the posters. But it's also like, it's not, the movie's not even called Justice League. It's called Zack Snyder's Justice League. So it's almost as if like DC and Warner Brothers were like, we know you don't own this IP, but for this movie, we're going to pretend you do, and you can do whatever you want with them. You know what I mean? So it's like, all right, fine.
Right. Yeah. Again, I'm you kind of already alluded to it, but I'm kind of just like, cool. That's it. The end. It's just like, okay. So I just feel
aren't you excited that like now we have something to look forward to? At least like we know when we're gonna find.
But I already knew. We were getting it in March. It was just a matter of hitting us with a hard date. And then the posters were, the one poster that was a tip of the hat to the death of Superman, I thought was cool. The other two were just kind of like, okay, like whatever. I've already kind of seen like art like this for for it.
You're so over it. It's so funny.
And I'm just like, okay, just show me the movie already.
But now
there's really nothing else that they can tell me that's going to excite me. He spent 2 years teasing crap. I've said it already a million times, but I'm already concerned that he showed us too much.
And there's
not going to be a lot of surprises when we actually get to see his cut.
I do share that concern, and I definitely feel you. But now I will say though, on the devil's advocate side, because I'm a massive DC fan, so I want to see what his vision is, for better or for worse. It is good to know that that Thursday in March, that third Thursday in March, we're gonna know what all the hubbub has been for the last few years here. You know what I mean? Like, again, for better or for worse.
Definitively,
yeah, I'm not saying it's going to be amazing. I'm not saying it's going to be terrible. I'm saying we're going to know. And I feel like either way, the sea is still going to be divided. You're still going to have the people saying it was the most brilliant thing I've ever seen. This was better than Infinity War and Endgame combined. And then you're going to have the other people being like, what, bro? No, we waited 2-3 years for that. So
And man,
and so I'm curious. I'm just curious to see where I fall. Because I don't know. Because I'm been very vocal that his version of the Justice League and DC characters is, it's not what I would have done. You know what I mean? Like, I think his movies are a lot of cool parts, but overall, I'm like, eh. But I've also said, but now that it's the Snyderverse, this is an Elseworlds Justice League story or DC story, I'm more forgiving and I'm on board now. Because now, if you're telling me this isn't the main Batman and Superman, meaning they could, murder people and do all this stuff, fine, I'll take it. I love Elseworlds. So with that new knowledge that we got, a DC fandom got me on board again. So we'll see.
Yeah. I'm totally down. I'm ready to watch it. I want to see it. I want to see what all the, if we see it and it's like, oh no, because again, guys, we're on, is it 2 or 3 years?
There's a lot
now?
riding on this, is what you're saying.
There's
a lot.
3 years. Yeah, we're 3. I believe it's 3 years now. We have been talking about this. Which again, if it was a movie, a brand new movie that had never come out, would be one thing, but a version of this film has already been released. When you add it all together, we've been talking about Zack Snyder's Justice League for like 5 freaking years.
But that kind of makes it,
so
on the flip, it makes it all the better though, right? Because it is like, well, what is it? And it's crazy.
Potentially.
But it's crazy. Like, this is, for better or for worse, whether it's good or not, this is still movie history. We're literally going to have 2 versions of a massive blockbuster film, like 2 completely. That's never happened. We're not talking about like an extended cut where they throw in like an extra 10 minutes. This is literally going to be 2 entirely different movies directed by 2 different directors. Like, that's crazy.
Well, I mean, yes and no, right? Like, this is going to be a very different version of the film, but it's not going to be 2 completely different films, like with none of the same footage. There's going to be a lot of footage that Joss Whedon did use.
But the tone shift is going to be like, because we already know the reason why there's going to be a tone shift. We already know why this budget is so expensive is because they basically shot the movie twice. Because Joss Whedon, when he took over, it's been confirmed that he shot like 70 to 80% of that film over. So like, in a way, it's like, it kind of is 2 different films. Like, I get it. Like, it's the same script.
High of a percentage? Because I saw like 50%.
Oh, I see. I heard different. So I mean, there's a lot of conflicting stuff with all this Snyder Cut stuff. I heard majority. We don't know for sure. So who knows? But
I guess we're about to find out. And that's kind of my concern, right? Is like, if we go into this movie and we see like a good deal of the same footage, just kind of, re-edited in a different tone with an overall different direction. Well,
the fact that it's 2,
and then on top of that, we see a lot of the other stuff that we see. Some of the big surprises have already been spoiled by Zack Snyder and some of these other cast members over the 2 years where they were, pushing the Snyder Cut. If that ends up being the case, and this winds up being like a fun or just a so like kind of rehash. Just a different tone, but it's just not. It's just been too long. I guess is a good way to say it. That's going to be a real downer, bro.
But I feel like again, whether it's good or not, that's impossible because it's 4 hours. Like, it's literally 2 hours of extra footage. It's double the movie.
You're like, no, it's not possible. It's 4 hours.
Yeah, because it's the first Justice League, I believe, was just under 2 hours, or like, let's say it's 2 hours exactly, right? This is literally twice the movie. So there's guaranteed off the bat, just knowing the running times,
2 hours of additional
at least
footage,
2 hours of additional footage. So that's got to change it all. So even if they use all the same footage intertwined with 2 hours of new footage, that's going to change the narrative a lot.
Yeah, that's fair.
You just don't want to talk about it. It's so funny.
It's like, just show me the movie.
You're just like, fine.
Show me the movie.
Let's just watch it and see.
Dude, I'm like, seriously, 5 years, bro.
You not wanting to
5
talk
years
about
we've
it?
been talking about this Justice League movie. I'm just like, just show us the movie.
You not wanting to talk about it,
just
though,
show us.
is making me want to talk about it more because of how much you're just like, I just want to watch it, though. Okay.
You would.
Because you're just like, you could say this and that to your blue in the face. Like, even this next thing, this is the last thing I'm going to mention, but I have to mention it because he released it. He took to Vero about a week or so ago, by the time people are listening to this, and gave us a new picture of Jared Leto as the Joker. We got a brand new one. It's a teaser. He's holding a card up, and Jared Leto Joker is very blurry in the background, but he looks like he's balding and he has long hair. Looks kind of reminiscent to Joaquin Phoenix Joker, but not. So again, another tease. I wish he would have held back because why? Like, we already know so much stuff, but there it is. Another tease that he graced us with. A Jared Leto Joker that's blurry holding a Joker card with a latex or rubber glove. What do you think, Tim?
Cool. Super cool.
No, is it not interesting to you that he looks again, it's blurry, it's out of focus, but that he looks kind of reminiscent to Joaquin Phoenix Joker?
A little. Yeah. I mean,
no F's given.
Until I see the zero right now. Until I see the full context, until I see like what it is that even going to be in the movie, right?
It's
like,
got to be if he tweeted it, right? Like, why would he do that?
I have been teased so much and let down so many times. I'm jaded. So
fair.
I will wait to see it, like what it is in context. It could be very cool. It could be like, oh my gosh, he fixed the Joker. He fixed Jared Leto Joker. Because for those of you who are wondering, I am not a fan.
I think that's most people
of what they did with Jared Leto's version of the Joker. So for those of you that are, I apologize, but that was not my cup of tea. I was very confused by that, and was glad that it was over. So but you know, again, maybe he fixed it, and we're gonna find out. At this point, I am just fully in the camp of I just want to see the freaking movie, so we can stop talking about all of these teases and the what ifs, and we can start talking about what it actually is.
Well, rumor has it is last thing I will say. Rumor has it is.
You went right from that to rumor
has it that this picture that he has graced us with on the social. Is a nightmare version of the Joker. But again, we have to watch the movie to find out. I'm gonna keep naming teasing and end it, but again, we have to watch the movie.
Yeah, that's kind of it, isn't it? That's kind of the trick. We gotta watch the freaking movie.
I know this is entertaining to me now. I know I said last thing, but there is another thing.
No, there
legitimately is one more. It just broke yesterday, I believe. Comic book.
Seriously, there's going to be nothing left. There will be no surprises left. Why are they still revealing teases on freaking Vero? Stop it. You're finally releasing the cut in a month.
It's not so much as a tease as it is a confirmation. It was confirmed that Martian Manhunter will be completely CGI. There will be no practical. It will be a completely CGI character. So that really is the last bit, unless something else comes to me. But
well, all right. That one's not bad. That one's not bad. But also that is 100%.
Yeah, make it like the Hulk.
If they tried to go practical makeup with that was going to look like straight CW.
For sure, they need to go straight Thanos with it. You know, the Hulk characters like that. Just make them CGI.
So my question is, that's my question, right? Are we going to get Thanos or are we going to get Henry Cavill Superman's mustache? That's what I want to know.
Well, they pumped an
question.
additional $70 million into this, right? Into the reshoots for the Snyder Cut.
That's the rumor.
So with $70 million, if he doesn't look like freaking, the Hulk or Thanos from the MCU, there's some problems here. There's some problems that are being had.
Oh boy, man, I'm telling you, I cannot imagine that HBO Max, went through all of this to bring this to the streaming platform to not put their best foot forward. So my anticipation and hope is that we are going to get a really solid version of all of these things. And I'll even just point to what we've seen of Darkseid.
Oh, yeah, he looks great.
He looks really cool.
Really good.
Yeah, it looks really cool.
Oh, that you bring up a very valid
some
point.
Of the teases about Steppenwolf.
Yeah, you bring up a very valid point. If the CGI is like Darkseid or Steppenwolf, it's Martian Manhunter is going to look great. Yeah, so that's
I think that we're in for some fun there. Again, just no more teases. The movie is. We have
Tim,
a date. We know when we're going to see it.
I thought of another one.
4 hours.
I thought of another one.
It's like the Sound of Doggone Music, the Justice League version.
Tim, I thought of another one. I know I said last one, but I got another one.
You are lying.
I am. I had to. I am.
You're the worst. You're the worst human.
With that said, everyone, that brings today's podcast to a close.
Oh, and then just in time too, because I was quickly losing interest.
Wow. I can see you're very excited and enthused with all the Snyder Cut news and reveals that keep coming out before its release on March 18th, as we learned recently.
and let me emphasize again, I am excited to see the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no.
I'm definitely excited. We finally got a release date and we know when we're going to see it, and I'm excited to watch it. I'm just no longer interested in talking about any more teases, reveals. I cannot do this anymore.
I think
too long.
What this just revealed to me is I think we need to start a separate podcast where I basically just interview you about things that Zack Snyder released for the Snyder Cut.
Yeah.
And then see how you feel. See how you really feel.
Let's just see if we can get Tim to really melt down about the Snyder Cut and DC's direction problems in general.
Be like, so Tim.
Because you know what? And I want to be fair. It's not just the Snyder Cut. You know what's gotten me to this point? Again, I've already kind of hinted at it. It's just the whole DC lack of direction.
Well, it's the whole AT&T thing we talked about, the 5G, the infinite. Yeah, everything's been shifting.
DC situation. Yeah. That is what really has me at this place as a whole. So the Snyder Cut is part of it, but it's not the only thing. It's the overall just... I've been worn down. I've been worn down to another.
Okay. Well, glass half full. We got like the Batman coming out. Let's say you don't want to talk about the Justice League, right? We got the Batman. We got Black Adam. We got the Suicide Squad, and then even on the comics front, like a lot of the future state titles have been good. I feel like for me, it's at least been like 50-50, where the Flash was really good, Nightwing is really good. Dark Detective has been really good. Titan. So there's been they're still pumping out some fairly, or I'd say actually really good titles.
Yeah. And that's actually a really good point to bring up too, because when we first talked about Future State, we were kind of like, I don't know, this isn't going so great. And the last few books have been much better.
Right. Yes.
So, we did say like we're going to give it more of a chance. It's still early on, but we weren't thrilled with it. As it has progressed, it has gotten significantly better.
Sure.
In fact, we just shot the episode for the entire Flash series, and that was really good. And they set up for some potentially fun things going into the Infinite Frontier Flash title, as well as things that they're doing in the Teen Titans, the Future State Teen Titans book. And we've got Robin Eternal. We've got the Nightwing cover. I have not read that yet, but you have, and you said it's really good.
Really good. Yes.
So yeah, and Batman, both Batman titles have gotten better and have been good. So the initial impressions were not the best, but they have definitely improved. So we'll talk about it again in the future episodes coming up here, because as it's winding down, we'll start talking more broadly about it.
And it's like we always say, and I know I definitely said in the the actual videos of like covering the issues, where it's like, I may not like it now, or it may not be rubbing me the wrong way now, but like it's too early to tell like 1-2 issues in, you know what I mean? That's why I always like to be like, we'll see, we'll ride it out, because again, I said it earlier in this podcast, the first issue of Maestro Hulk for Peter David, I wasn't digging that much, but it turned out to be one of my favorite series from last year. I've really dug that title. Right. So, that's why it's like, even if we're not digging something or liking something, that doesn't mean 2, 3, 4, 5 issues in, we're still going to feel that way. Because right now, I will say I'm not fully there, but they are starting to change me, especially with, a lot of those titles hitting. Like the Future State Flash title was really, really good. What they did with Wally and Barry, awesome. Again, Nightwing comes face to face with Tim Fox Batman. They handled that really well. Right. So, I'm even starting to start really liking Tim Fox more. So, like anything, we'll ride it out and see where it lands a few months from now.
Yeah. And I am glad at least that some of the things that they've done with it have been better than it initially seemed like it was going to be. We even talked about it looking like it was going to be kind of a very simple. What was the name of that one? We couldn't even remember when we talked about it the first time, and now I can't remember it again.
Convergence.
Convergence. Yeah, we talked about it might be like a convergence.
This is definitely better
so,
than a convergence.
Definitely
but
not.
like a lot
definitely
better.
better than that. Yeah. So that's all a big positive, and I'm hoping that we're hearing good things from our boy Josh Williamson coming out, talking about what they're going to be doing within Infinite Frontier. So, hey, definitely give them the benefit of the doubt, and happy to see where it's going so far.
For sure. If this was just a bump in the road and it's leveling out as we get into March and stuff like that, I'm like, that's awesome. You know what I mean? Because they were forced to make changes because of everything going on internally and stuff. So if that just meant like we were gonna have this weird transition period, but by mid this year we'll be good again, fine. Good on you. But I think we've ranted enough, right?
Yeah, I think that gives us a nice little end cap
there go.
With the mention about future state, and we can lean into that for the next episode or so.
For sure. So with that said, guys, we'll see you next time when we talk about all things comics.